you're in the right place. This is the Eatfluencer Podcast, and I'm your host, Dr. Maggie Landes. Together, we are going to unpack everything about eating and discover the what, when, and how that will let you lead your best life. This is not your doctor's conversation about nutrition. Today is when you can start to love eating again. Let food be food and you be you. Get ready to get eatfluenced. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Eatfluencer Podcast. I'm your host, Maggie Landes, and you're here listening to episode number 11, Changing Exercise into Joyful Movement, with my guest, Kim Hagle, who's a personal trainer and registered holistic nutritionist. So first, I have to welcome you. If you're new to the podcast here, let me just take a quick moment and explain to you what I do and what we talk about here. I'm a physician, public health nutritionist, and wellness expert who coaches women exasperated with chronic dieting through a transformative mindset work that's required really to fix their overwhelm, stress with food, and they can live more healthfully and contently through an undieted approach to eating. Undieted, that's the word, not dieting. We advocate in a manner of health that does not use prescriptive, rigid diets, and you may or may not be familiar with that, and certainly coming from a health professional, that's a little different than what you may already know, but I'm glad you're here so you can learn some more. I want to remind everybody, if you're listening in real time, this episode is going to publish on December 16th. My group coaching program enrollment is open right now. Only for 2 more days, though. The doors close December 18th, and this is for the group that will be starting January 4th, 2021. So the info you need to get there and check it out is in the show notes, but please consider working with me and at least consider opening your mind to the idea that health can be attained outside of diet culture. I've got a great curriculum that will help you set goals that can fit into your lifestyle and really be very revolutionary in your relationship with food and eating. So I encourage you to check that out. But let's get into today's episode, which is why you're here. This is a really fun episode, and I'm so glad that I was able to have Kim on my show. She's a colleague of mine in the fitness profession. She is a mother of 4, personal trainer, and registered holistic nutritionist. And her business that she founded is called Radiant Vitality Wellness. Kim hosts the Joyful Movement Show podcast and has a signature program called Right Body for Me. She helps women in that program discover joyful movement, intuitive eating, and motivation that will last so they can heal their relationship to exercise and feel confident in their own skin. Who doesn't want that? That sounds awesome, right? So it was really important for me to bring on somebody like Kim, who is doing the work that I'm doing to transform mindset, but she's doing her work in this parallel fitness space. Because as you know, eating and exercise and diet and movement and all those things are very interrelated and are both important to achieving whole health. But we have met several times and we agree that our clients and even ourselves, we have a lot more success when we can stop the rigid, punishing behavior that we're doing, either with dieting or exercise, and really instead learn how to incorporate a lifestyle that includes pleasurable, intuitive eating, a healthy relationship with food, and joyful movement. So you're going to love Kim. She's a great conversationalist, super smart gal. Let's get into my interview now. Okay, great. And I'm here with Kim now. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Excellent. Well, I really felt it was important to have you come on and talk to my listeners a little bit. They are very familiar with me talking about undieting, sort of their eating approach, but you work in a very parallel universe, if I can say that, with fitness and personal training. And so could you give us just a little background about how you came into that space and how that's a little bit outside the mainstream for most people in the fitness industry?
Yeah. So I have been a personal trainer since 2012. And if you knew me growing up, which you didn't, but anybody who did would have thought that this was the least likely career choice that I would have ever made. I was the kid who was picked last for all the sports teams at school. I always kind of joke about I went to a very small school growing up. There were 9 girls in our class.
Oh, that
And
is small.
it's very small. And I still got cut from every sports team. Like
Oh no.
not even kidding. It's the truth. So fast forward many, many years, struggled with body image my whole life. Always thought I wasn't good enough. Started trying to restrict food and the dieting behaviors in my early teen years. But stayed away from anything fitness related because I just was so turned off, almost traumatized by that whole
Sure.
experience. So many, many years later, I have 4 children, but after my third was born, was really struggling with my identity and my body image. And I knew I didn't want to diet anymore. I was over that. I knew it didn't work. So I came at it from a different way and thought I would start working out. And I hired a personal trainer. And for the first time in my life, I felt like strong and empowered and capable of something that I never knew that I was capable of. So what used to be such a strong aversion very quickly morphed into an obsession, and it became my entire life.
Right. When you felt that you couldn't do something for such a long time and then you discover you can, I'm sure it probably
Yeah.
was super exciting,
Super
to
exciting, but also like I know now, like I had something to prove, like big time to myself and to everybody who ever picked on me, right? So I
all those other 8 girls in your high school class.
right. Yeah. So, it totally took over my life. I made it into my career, but like I say, it really just became an obsession. And eventually I couldn't keep up the facade anymore. I didn't realize that at the time, but like diet culture has infiltrated the fitness industry just as badly as it has, how we eat. And I was victim to that. I really thought that I had to maintain this perfect ideal body. I had to be thin and muscular and I had to eat perfect and I had to work out every day, no matter what. And I kept getting injured and like, it just got to be too much. And eventually my life took a big change and I couldn't keep obsessing anymore. I had way bigger things to think about. So I stepped away from the fitness industry for a couple of years, but it was in my own healing, my relationship to exercise and food. And I guess, as you would say, undieting my approach to fitness and food, that I realized just how messy diet culture really is and how it's infiltrated the fitness world, and realize there's a lot of people probably just like me and your listeners who are struggling with the same thing. So I came back with a different.
Yeah. It's very it's really hard to separate the diet culture and the fitness culture, if I can say it like that. It's, you hear the terms diet exercise, diet exercise. It's almost like one word.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of hard. A lot of people I know struggle with using exercise as sort of like a payback for eating, or a privilege to eat if you've done enough exercise.
Yeah.
So
Very
can you
transactional, right?
yes, can you talk a little bit how that I don't believe that really works, but I'd really like to hear it from a fitness professional like yourself, how that really doesn't hold water, that
Yeah,
bank account thinking about it.
it really doesn't. Like, I mean, for one thing, it leads to a lot of disordered thinking, right? It takes all the joy out of movement, as you know, with food. When we think about it only in terms of calories and nutrients, it takes away all of the pleasurable experiences that come with it. And so there's that side of it. But from a transactional standpoint, even calories in, calories out, it doesn't work either, because there are just so many variables at play on how many calories get burned in a particular workout. Like, I looked up how many calories are burned in a 30-minute run. Let me just check my numbers here. It was anywhere from 280 to 520. 280 to
Right.
520. That's a huge range. So different things factor into that, right? The length of time, of course, is 30 minutes. That's the same across the board, but how much you weigh, what your heart rate was, what your previous conditioning level is, your ratio of muscle mass to fat mass, genetics. Like there are so many things that factor into how many calories are burned. And unless you're working out in a lab with
Right.
monitors attached to you and somebody tracking everything, taking your blood, there's no way to know. And even if you wear a fitness tracker with a heart rate monitor, it doesn't even come close to estimating accurately the number of
Right.
calories burned. So,
Yeah,
sorry.
those are all, just mathematical algorithms and stuff, but it's easy
Mhm.
to play into that. I mean, I
Oh, yeah.
usually sort of tell the people I coach, I just put calories aside because it's such a huge distraction. And it is very misleading what they mean in the human body and in real, what's on your plate, what you're doing in your exercise routine. That it's real distracting, but I'm as guilty as the next person. Like I like when I'm on the elliptical machine to see the little calorie counter
Mhm.
going, and that somehow gives me credit, but we really have to separate our worth from
Yeah,
those measurements, right?
absolutely. It means nothing about you, but also recognize that that number is completely arbitrary, especially on a treadmill. Like it knows nothing about who you are and how your rate of
Right.
calorie burn, right? So it shouldn't play into your worth at all because it's a completely random number.
Exactly. Now, how do you, I know some of my listeners may not be familiar with following your podcast. I know you recently talked a little bit about motivation, and this is a
Mhm.
big, big thing. A lot of my listeners are women. If you're listening to this podcast in real time, it's December. Everybody's thinking about New Year's resolutions, and it's just the time of year everybody's setting goals and stuff. And tell me what your thoughts are about motivation and that being a major hang up for women trying to incorporate movement into their
Yeah.
routine.
Yeah, it is a huge issue, probably universally across the board. When I talk to women myself, their biggest struggle with starting a movement practice is not feeling motivated. So much so that I created a free guide all about motivation. It's called The Motivation Secret, and I'm sure you'll link to it in your show notes. But
Yeah, I sure will.
what what I think the issue is that we have this mistaken belief that we're supposed to just have it inside of us, right? That it'll just hit us one day and we'll wake up and want to do the thing. But it doesn't. Even those of us
Right.
who have been exercising for years and years struggle with motivation and wanting to get up. But how motivation is cultivated is by having positive feelings about movement. So if exercise is torturous for you, or you're using it as a transaction, using it as a way to punish yourself or trying to shrink your body or earn food, all of those things, those are a negative emotion that you're bringing into the exercise environment, and it's not going to make you feel good about getting up and moving. Science has actually proven that body goals or losing weight or trying to shrink your body is the number one anti-motivating factor out there. So
Sure,
the
but you would know that because that is what we are sold, is that's the reason to exercise as far as the
Absolutely.
media is concerned, is
Yeah.
to be smaller, to lose weight. I mean, that's the messaging,
Everything's
right?
focused on shrinking our physical body, right? Like if as soon as we reach this ideal BMI, this ideal thinness, that we are now considered healthy. But we know that health is so much more than just our weight. It's a complete state of being. And using exercise is just a way to shrink your body. You're really missing the bigger picture of the joy that movement can bring.
Right. And that leads me into my next question I was going to ask you about is for people familiar with intuitive eating, the intuitive eating is, sort of has a set of 10, I don't know what they're called, guidelines or
And
steps or
principles.
principles. Yeah,
Yeah.
principles is the right word. And I love that you have sort of done a little corollary to this related to movement and
Yeah.
your principles of joyful movement. So obviously we time is not going to allow us to go through all 10 of them right now, but if you could go through maybe like one or two of those sort of top ones, or the first, entry level thoughts that people need to have if they want to start incorporating joyful movement rather than punishing
Yeah.
exercise.
Yeah. Well, saying no to punishment is one of the principles that I came
Oh,
up with.
good. That might be the first one, huh?
Yeah. So like, just forget the whole no pain, no gain mentality. It doesn't get us anywhere, right? As long as we view exercise as something that's meant to punish us, we're not going to want to do it. It takes all the joy out of it. And going along with that is just to reject the diet mentality altogether, like disconnect your movement practice from your desire to lose weight. And that doesn't mean, I know it's hard for people to give up the desire to lose weight just instantly, but you can decide today to just disconnect your exercise from your desire to lose weight and just start to move for fun. The one principle that I really love and talk about a lot is to challenge the gym police. So in intuitive
the gym police, that sounds serious.
It's so serious. They're not real people. In intuitive eating, they talk about challenging the food police. So I just extrapolated that and made it my own by calling them the gym police. So there are just these thoughts in your head that just bark at you and shout at you all the rules and, making you believe that there's one right way to exercise. And if you're not doing it this way, that it's wrong. It's all that all or nothing thinking, like you must go to the gym and you must lift weights and you must do cardio. And if you do burpees, that's even better. And,
right.
punishment, like all the rules. And it really sets us up for thinking that, well, if I can't do that, then what's the point? Right? If I'm not going to do it right, then why would I bother? So just silence that voice and set your own rules. Go and do it. Go do what feels good for you.
Right. And one of the things I personally have done is stopped so rigorously tracking everything I do.
Yes.
I think that's important because what I would used to do is set myself a goal that I'm going to do X number of minutes of cardio or X number of times to the gym or whatever. And it's probably just my personality type. But as soon as I didn't meet whatever my own goal that I had put on literally on paper, there was this whole mental kind of beat down.
Yeah, you beat yourself up for it. And that's one of the other principles on there is to stop relying on external validation. Right. So yeah, your fitness tracker or your MyFitnessPal app, or even the bathroom scale, relying on those to tell you that you did a good job moving your body or eating for that matter. It takes away your own power, takes away the joy of it. And yeah, it sets you up for a whole lot of shame and beating yourself down. And it's to me, it's kind of like yelling at your kids and expecting them to thank you for the feedback.
Right. No, that I've got 2 kids. That's not how it works at my house. I don't know about your house, but
yeah. Nobody enjoys being yelled at and told what to do. And it's not fun.
So your inner voice yelling at you basically is going to keep you from really exploring what you're capable of doing. And is that what you're saying basically?
Yeah. It really does come down to our thoughts and our mindset, right? I truly believe that all of the results that we're getting in our life are a result of how we feel, and our feelings are a result of our thoughts. So if we're constantly having thoughts that things have to look a certain way, or that we're doing it wrong, or we're not worth it, or we're bad if we did it this way, we're always going to continue to struggle. We're never going to enjoy movement.
Yeah, definitely. And it's it actually has become much more fun the less you think about it. And the way I coach people through eating, and I'm saying that because that's my perspective. I'm not in the fitness world like you are, but I always tell them the easiest thing is to add something they like rather than take away something they feel like they shouldn't, And so I have a client who just recently, I sort of helped her get through a very significant Diet Coke kind of I don't want to say addiction, but almost. Yeah. And she had tried many, many times, just to stop drinking Diet Coke and track the Diet Coke and all these things. And I said, don't even think about Diet Coke. Don't even think about it. Just drink water. And if you want a Diet Coke because it comes to you, you can have it. Don't shame yourself. Don't prohibit it. Absolutely. And just in the addition of water and concentrating on how to make water more flavorful or have water available to her, she trimmed out the Diet Coke, So how in the exercise world or movement can we learn to add things that are pleasurable?
I think it's that knowing, first of all, what is pleasurable to you, right? So taking away all of the rules and what you think you should do, take away that, you're supposed to do cardio and you're supposed to lift weights and it has to look a certain way in a gym. Go back and think maybe how you moved when you were a child. Were there sports that you liked to do, or did you run, or did you dance, or did you ride your bike, or what was fun? Swimming, maybe, right? And maybe go back to that and take away any of the shoulds that, you should do it for 30 minutes, or you should be sweating, or you should be sore after. Just what would be fun for you, and add a little bit in, little by little, and gradually start to add more.
Right. And that supports what is, evidence-based in the clinical literature, is that really what we want to do to reduce our risk of chronic disease and inflammation and all these things is to not be sedentary. It
Yeah.
doesn't say that, running on a treadmill prevents hypertension. It says that, being sedentary all the time increases your risk of that. So, I do like that idea of, I think a lot of people don't know what they like because exercise has been so punishing.
Yeah. And so prescribed.
Yes.
And I think at the end of the day, consistency is going to get us much further ahead as far as preventing disease and slowing down the aging process than these intense bursts of exercise sporadically throughout our lives, right? Starting
which
the gym and going hard for 6 weeks and then quitting.
Right. Because it always ends up in quitting, because nobody's really going to work like that forever. They're going to get burnt out, or they're going to get injured, as you mentioned.
Exactly. Yeah.
So now tell me a little bit about the program that you do. I believe it's called Right Body for Me. And this is also super cool to me because, it's 2020. So everything in the universe is virtual now. And so this, even though you're located in Canada in a small town, you can offer personal training to people anywhere, I guess, if they have internet access.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me the sort of design of your program and how that works.
Yeah, so it's actually a totally mindset-based program. It's 16 weeks where we really dive into the beliefs and thoughts that you have around exercise and your body image and how you relate to food. We really challenge how diet culture has influenced your life and caused you to have these dysfunctional thoughts and limiting beliefs that force or cause you to take actions that you're not happy with. So being on this stop-start cycle forever, starting and quitting, or lacking willpower, lacking motivation, diet after diet, it all comes down to our thoughts. So that's what we really dive into, is examining what we believe, changing our thoughts, challenging diet culture, learning about health at every size, and then re-engaging with movement and food from a whole new mindset.
Yeah, it does change. I teach my clients also that, just inserting yourself on that action step to force an action outcome,
Yeah.
that doesn't work, and it's not sustainable when the upstream belief system is, incongruent.
And that's what the fitness industry is built on. Like, they just tell you what action to take. Do this, do this, do this. And they'll even tell you why it should benefit you. So you think, well, if I just do what they say, I'll finally get the result I want. But then why do we struggle to stick with things over and over and over again? Well, it's because
why do we not get the result? I mean, we're sort of promised this result.
Yeah. Or results that last, right? We fall back into our old pattern.
Well, I love the fact that you're incorporating mindset, because you are like a diamond in the rough. This is not mainstream personal training sort of mantra, for sure. I mean, I hope in 5 years or 10 years it is, and there's many.
I hope so too.
Kim Hagles out there making people motivated to move, but right now it's kind of coming from this quiet corner, you know. Exactly. So now tell my listeners real quick before we wrap up here. I mean, I could talk about this a long time, but if they are interested in either getting your motivational secret tool or finding out a little bit more about how to work with you, where would they find you?
Yeah, so my business name is Radiant Vitality Wellness. So you can find me on Facebook or Instagram at Radiant Vitality Wellness. And then my website is radiantvitality.ca. And that's where you'll find my freebie, The Motivation Secret, and more information about my program, Right Body for Me.
Okay, fantastic. Well, any last little pearls that we didn't discover on our chat here?
I think we covered a lot. And I
It's a
really
lot,
hope,
right?
yeah. And I really hope that what we talked about will help your listeners maybe change their relationship to exercise a little bit. And I want to thank you so much for inviting me on to share.
Well, I appreciate you coming, and we'll have to do this again because, like I said, the movement and exercise and the diet and eating is just it's always going to have a relationship, and working together with other professionals like you, I think, really magnifies our mission, our joint mission. You know,
Absolutely. I look forward to having you back on my podcast as well.
fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Kim. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much.
Did I not tell you she was going to be great? I love meeting people like Kim. I told her she's a diamond in the rough in the fitness industry because really, truly, the work she's doing is going to help women get healthier, have better body image, better ability to make sustainable change in their relationship with movement and eating. And I just love the work she's doing. So hopefully you enjoyed that as much as I did. In the show notes, I have all the links if you're interested in following Kim on social media, looking at her website, or even possibly working with her in the future in her signature program, Right Body for Me. So that's what we have this week. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for being here today. If you love what you've learned, follow me on social media at Maggie Landes MD, and you'll never miss a thing. You can also check out my website at maggielandesmd.com and sign up to be part of our community of eaters. Thanks again for stopping by. We'll talk again soon.